and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers and all you lovers of life out there, and welcome to this video today with me, where we will be talking about the so-called ups and downs and the feelings of disconnect and the inner connection with Source, and how to manage that through understanding of what this actually is all about. So today is actually Mary's Assumption Day, and first of all I wish to share a beautiful story with you. It's kind of adventurous though. I went here to this mountain gorge and I was guided to just hike down this river canal. It's almost like a river canyon, right? And at first it was very peaceful and beautiful energies, and then when I get to the main cliff, you know, where the water kind of breaks down and starts falling and descending, I really wanted to have a peaceful day and meditate there by the rock and all of that. But a part of me, because I'm such an adventurous spirit at times, and I always say I have like a little child inside, like a teenager, right? Which always wants to explore something, and you know, this part of me, this Sagittarius nature that I kind of experience all the time, and it's playing out with my inner master. It's kind of like integrating. It's coming in waves of both energies wanting to express itself. So then I see this tree that goes very in a steep way. It goes up. And I was like, oh, I need to climb that. I need to go there. I need to go on the shelf above the waterfall where the water breaks down. And it looked easy, right? Then I started to climb, and I was a bit afraid for a first moment, but something just kept me going. And once you have to know this, once you get to a certain height, there's no way of coming back down at the same way, because it's very steep and it's all just little rocks, and you just go down your butt basically. So the only option for me was to continue to go up until I reached the forest line, which was very steep, and it just continued getting steeper and steeper. And I was like, what am I to do? And at that moment, you know, I have this epiphany that for us as humans, it's sometimes very easy to feel that disconnect with life, because we're not really living life to the fullest. And when we have adventures like this, there's this presence within us. It's like this deeper part of us that gets almost like triggered, because we get to be more tentative. We need to be more observant. You know, every move matters. And I think that's why so many people love climbing, because it's such an adventure, is because their presence really starts to at that time be descended into their form, into their physicality. And although perhaps it's not a full soul embodiment, they get to experience it. And just yesterday my mom and I had this talk why so many people are climbing nowadays, and our mountains are filled with people who are very good climbers, and our people, our nationality, they're very eager to climb mountains, and there's so many people. And we've talked about how many people want to, in a way, ascend, but more just through this physical aspect of experience, right? When you're physically ascending. And I experienced that part of my life journey at the beginning stages of my awakening. As you know, I was so much in the mountains. And then at a certain later part, when the life force started more to descend into my body, I started resonating more with the energy of these mountain gorges and waterfalls, where the energy already is full of life force and it starts to descend. So as you're going up the mountain, and then the energy, the life force to the water, which is the carrier of that light information, starts to descend, and you're feeling that, and you're a part of that embodiment. So today I had this experience, how much present you are in your body when adventures like this happen, and you have to be so thoughtful of every move you're actually making, because you cannot make a mistake, you know, otherwise you just fall down your butt, and God knows where you ended up. It was very interesting, because I always feel very safe and supported every time something like that is created within my reality, because there's never any people in that mountain gorge. It's very remote. But at that time when I was climbing, there was people down there at the shelf where the water breaks. So if something happened, I'd just yell and they'd come to help, or anything. I felt safe. I felt really supported. But I really was called to feel this presence. And a lot of people think, well, this is dangerous or that's dangerous. But the thing is, when our inner spirit is in a way activated to the fullest, we are very, if you've ever observed yourself, when you were in that, not fear mode, when you panic, right? Not panic, kind of fear state, but when you know that you really have to be present in your body, and that's when you say yes to life to the fullest. If you get afraid in the other way, that fear in a way blocks your experience, you will more close up, and that's when you'll start to panic because you won't know what to do. When you allow guidance to occur at that level, you just allow every next move to come to you. Because my first initial thought was go there above the shelf, but there was no way of going there. I had to go the other way and reach the forest line. So I had to be with the experience of the now. Why am I saying this for the introduction of today's topic is because these are the moments when we feel how much life force we can actually invigorate ourselves with, through our bodies. And I want to talk about these main two things and main two differences of these ups and downs that on a regular basis we experience on a reality, because a lot of people think that once you're in your spiritual path, everything will be, up and dandy and it will be so good and no challenges. That's not really true. Because you will always have challenges that will kind of continuously elevate your spirit to come more and more into your form, to bring more life force into your physical body, to know how much you're capable of creating in the human form. Because just as today's message was for the Mary's Ascension Day, was that divinity is meant to be lived and experienced on earth. It's not just this light being or divinity we pray for outside of us, but divinity can be in physical form. It can be an actual experience. Sometimes it can be something like I created today. It felt like a little frustrating, but I wasn't afraid at all. Because I knew something guided me to go there, and it was for a reason. And I just kept on climbing and climbing on all fours. And at that moment, I always have this voice that talks to myself. And I said to myself, right now, I need to be in the consciousness of a mountain goat. I am a mountain goat, and then you just call out that aspect, and you will just know how to move, and we're always safe. The reason is why people have these accidents and all these things that happen. Either it's their time to go, I'm not the one to interfere with that, or to comment on that, or it's because they're not fully present, or because of this panic, you start creating weird movement or something. And the thing about why this is a part of today's topic and why it's such a good example is because it relates to these ups and downs that we experience. So it doesn't mean now when you start your awakening that you won't have this, because when we activate and elevate the energy, we're always going to experience an integration phase. And I talk to you about this all the time because it's the basics of us expanding ourselves through every cycle of our ascension. Ascension is not linear. It does not happen in one cycle and all at once. I see a lot of people who still talk about these things like activate your DNA today, become ascended today, become your higher self now. I mean, you are aligned. That's the paradox, that you are aligned with your highest divinity already. But how much of that light you're bringing into your form through that first healing, self-acceptance, nurturance, and then working with the higher levels of life force and the spiral of spirit is all up to how much we're ready to receive and how much this inner work we've done. But those of us who actually do get to experience these extremes of ups and downs, not in the way that they're extreme that we would feel them as in very negative or very positive energies, more that we are being stretched in both directions, both the light and the shadow. So the shadow is an aspect of us when we integrate, where the light is when we activate, and both are needed. Both are, very deeply associated with our DNA activation, which is a holistic journey. So one video before this one, I've explained to you this DNA light activation for the Illumined humans and what it means. And I've shared with you that I recently was guided to create a full-on DNA light activation for the new Illumined human, and it's available on my webpage, Serapina Light. But I want to say today something more as an add-on, that there's a difference between people who really experience mental illness and this constant disconnect, and those of us who are not disconnected, but we experience the energy when that light wants to reach the deepest crevices of the physicality, and these doorways that perhaps it's almost like there's experiences there that still need more light of illumination and more, but that doesn't mean we have an overall disconnect. So there's a difference. And yesterday, what actually propelled me for this is I've seen a video from Russell Brand, and he actually commented on this star who actually exposed herself and her mental illness to the world at large, you know, via video and sharing with everyone. And nowadays it's so popular that everyone gets to share whatever they want. Moments that were perhaps before just intimate and were between us and our soul are now becoming a part of the human collective, is because of we're moving into the group consciousness and the coming out of what's wrong and not working, you know, with the totality of our system. And one of the aspects when he said, well, mentally ill systems create mentally ill people, and that's one aspect. But the other aspect is that a lot of these celebrities or pop singers or very important people in that regard, you know, is in terms of what was presented to us is important. A lot of them were constantly exposed to brainwashing and brain waves alteration, a lot of times also MK Ultra programs, and a lot of them have very difficulty with, again, connecting all of their four bodies and creating that merge so they could live in a self-sustaining inner realm and create an environment which felt supportive and safe for them. And that's why a lot of them are constantly feeling these waves that are in a way suicidal or somehow very difficult for them to handle, is because they can't handle these voices of this separation. Whether you would perceive they're coming from the outside through different agendas, or whether you'd say, well, that's coming from your own psyche. It doesn't matter when your soul is integrated. Whether there's something coming from the outside or your inner self, you don't see it anymore as the outside, something coming at me, or, oh, my own bad thoughts lurking at me. It's, in a way, everything is of consciousness. It's more about, in your full awareness, whether that will have an effect or you're not. So I wanted to explain that everyone on this path of ascension will experience these ups and downs. And people sometimes, they look at me in my videos, and I always talk about these things because I'm meant to share, because I am an ascension guide. And I'm a way shower, and I share also through my own experiences. People often think, well, it's all fine and dandy with her. Her life has no issues or challenges. That is not true. Otherwise, I could not get so vigilant and strong. Even in my body, I've managed so much to strengthen myself in that regard. So I can do the crazy things like I did today, right? It takes courage and determination and a lot of inner application of what you know in spirit to be true, and then slowly bringing it into your body form. It's a journey. And I wouldn't be able to share this with you if I did not have those experiences. So it's not always fine and dandy with me. I experienced moments of this total void, total rewrite, when I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to create next. I don't know. But the answer is when we feel, that's the difference, okay? The difference is in us who are experiencing these waves of ascension, activation, and then integration phases, is when we experience the void, it's usually because at that time our whole body is shifting and is experiencing, in a way, this rewrite. And at that moment, because you're being rewritten, and again you're shifting into the new, which is happening very fast now for us. It's not like, okay, 1 year you're like this, the next year you have a shift. It's week to week, even sometimes even day to day. And sometimes I experience days when one day I'm totally elevated, the next day what's happening? It's already the integration, because those of us who are shifting fast now, this is happening like this. Before it was, the curve was like this. It's like a sinusoid. What's it called in English? I don't know. You know, the sinus curve, right? Okay, so now it's happening like this. It's getting from this, you know, to more and more like this, and it feels intense because it's so deeply or fastly elevated. But it's happening because the system, when it's rewritten, at that time when it's being rewritten, and once again you're shifting into the new template, you don't know. Because at that time you want to kind of take the experiences, what was already known, and create from that point, but you can't. The body, which is already so prone to full life force, living through that life force experience, does not want to cooperate with that, does not want to align with your thoughts, because at that time you are shifting in the way your thoughts are being processed through your emotions. And again, it's all 4 body levels. But the difference with that, or the mentally ill perspective, I don't want to say mentally ill because then again puts a label on a person, but people who are experiencing the challenges of a disconnect on a permanent basis, who are getting depressed because of that, and who are feeling these things and becoming, disconnected from life or a higher purpose or higher calling or even being creative. It's because they have a deep whole gap system in their four lower bodies. And on some level, they can be really deeply empathic, really intuitive, very deep, because when you're not deep, you can't feel as deeply. And therefore, you will not have such an intense experience. People who are very superficial, they don't experience such, highs and lows. And these people can be very sensitive, but in a one way, they have not yet managed to create a holistic experience of their four lower bodies. So they're experiencing such a disconnect because at a certain level, they might be very emotional, living very much through the emotional experience. But that emotional experience, it's like it can't connect with the mental body. It's like a wall. It's like a blockage. So these feelings can't, in a way, align and create this beautiful merge, but it's like this. It's like you're always hitting a brick wall. That's how I'm being shown. So that's why they're experiencing these intense, heavy emotions that they cannot process. And they would say, well, the disconnect happens in the mental body, so it's a mental illness. But no illness is ever just, it's an emotional illness, it's a mental illness, it's a physical illness. It's always a holistic system. So why there's so many people who are now suffering from this is because we still don't have a holistic approach to the human. And what does the human being mean? We have to get to the root of what is human beingness. And these sacred teachings that are available, that perhaps for a while only a few were starting to comprehend, but it's getting wider and wider, and it's getting more widespread. Teachings like from Viva Musk, because those teachings very deeply go into the metaphysical structure and the physical structure of all the four lower bodies, and then how to work with that, and so many practical exercises. But the main thing is that we always want to heal a person as in treating them as sick, but they're not sick, they're not ill. They're simply experiencing a disconnect, perhaps at a larger proportion. Because what we're experiencing with the waves of ascension, sometimes we get scared. We're like, am I disconnected because I don't know what to do now? Am I not following my spirit guidance? A lot of people I know, they go like that. I sometimes go like that. And at that moment, you experience a partial doubt, and you don't know how to trust because you have a feeling you're doing something wrong. But it's a difference because you're just shifting the system so fast. The frameworks, it's like you have to adjust every day to a different rotational cycle of the vibratory essence. Imagine that. So of course we have periods when like a total rewrite happens, and our nervous system cannot always adjust to that. It takes time. It depends on how much integration work you've done, and that's why I spend all of my times outdoors in nature, so that this integration process for me can be speeded up. Because I'm a wayshower and I need to do this myself, always a pioneer to set the template and to set the stage for those who are following. And that's what we do as volunteer souls. We create that dynamics. But we also have to have an understanding when that is not a part of this template. And a lot of people say, my symptoms are because I'm ascending, But they have a deeper issue than just ascending. First, this healing of all the four lower bodies needs to occur. So there can be an interpenetrating essence between all of them, because they are meant to function as a whole unit. You can't build your white column of light without that. And recently someone via comments on Instagram, I think, asked me, how do you know when your white column is activated? Well, it's something I cannot answer you in one single sentence or in one comment or even in one video. I have videos dedicated to this topic specifically, and there's an Ascension and Self-Mastery playlist, and there's even light activations, and even light activations on my page, Serapina Light. There's a physical Ascension Gateway activation and some other activations on my light activations page on, within Serapina Light. And these are all meant to slowly take you to the gradual understanding, which is someone else cannot tell you, oh, your white pillar is activated when you feel like this, or when that is true, or this. Each person will experience that differently, but the inner knowing has to be so. So when you're still asking that questions, how do I know? How do I know? You don't know yet. Because when you do, you know from yourself, and you know you have activated this because you feel it. And these moments of this feeling disconnect, they're not really a disconnect. In a way they are, because for a partial, very short time span, you are disconnected from the old framework, which is not just, oh, this old system is falling apart. It's a framework perhaps which you experienced yesterday, but today for you no longer works. That's Ascension. And I remember someone recently, we had a session with that person And they later wrote me a feedback, and they said, I can't explain this, but every day I wake up like I'm new. Like I literally have new cells, new way of functioning, new way of thinking. And for a lot of these beings, it's happening very fast now, this constant activation. So we have to see the difference. And a lot of people in the New Age who are so-called ascending, they're still on this healing journey. Some of them need to see the deeper issues behind this. Sorry, I'm being attacked, bombarded by flies here. They're feasting on me. I smell like sugar. Anyway, yeah, it's very important, because when you are living in the state of illusion, you won't recognize the work you need to do in your inner integration process. That's why New Age can be so dangerous, because it gives a lot of fluffy understanding to things that need a deeper spiritual metaphysical understanding that can merge then with the incorporated physical experience. And a lot of us have that knowledge. We're here available for you. Reach out, you know. I have thousands, probably. Okay, I'm overreacting now, but it feels to me like I have thousands of videos, probably thousands of hours of videos for sure, that all go into the depth of this topic and this understanding. But we have to see the difference, because a feeling of disconnect that will be like this temporary, and your bliss, and then again you're integrating, it will be very obvious that this is what you're experiencing. This is a part of ascension. And on the other hand, people who are in a way for a very long time experiencing this disconnect, they need healing, but they need to be treated not as mental ill patients, or, you know, taken to hospitals where there is no emphasis on creativity, or even, you know, even people who might do physical healings and they say, well, I'm a healer and I'm only doing energetic work for you. We need to have an understanding of, you know, this intuitive understanding, what's really happening, or what happened with that person, where did that disconnect first begin, how to treat it in a way to bring it back into wholeness, not treat it like illness that we need to now kind of glue together so it functions again. It's a process that is self-sustainable. We need to trigger the button that says yes to this process, and that happens through awareness and understanding. So educate yourself in terms of spiritual metaphysical awareness, but not through the new agey fluffy words and, you know, posts that are just superficially based, but the understanding that gradually builds as you're building upon your spirit awareness in your physical form, because that's what gets you into the state of becoming a spiritual graduate, you know, a spiritual master of yourself, which means you will know how to handle yourself. Even when in this moment, you know, how do you know you're really not disconnected? I have a good example. Is because when you have a feeling of this void, and you perhaps will doubt that this is, you know, this integration phase, and you're rewriting the system again, and your whole nervous system is adapting to that. Because you will sometimes feel this void, and at the same time you will know what it is about. You will know, this is the void, this is what I'm feeling, and still you will doubt. That's what you will know, because the mind will try to put sort of analytical something to that understanding and somehow frame it as this is this. We always need a frame for our experience, right? And this is how you know it's just mental. It's just this lower mind who constantly wants to, you know, oh, I need to get to this, to the bottom of that and that. And that moment, just surrender. Or if you're getting frenetic, just breathe into it. And don't explain to yourself like, I'm disconnected. I don't know in this moment. Just be in the now and say, I'm in the now, but I'm soul embodied. Perhaps I'm just experiencing this rewrite, and that's okay. I have also a short light exercise for you that you can do. It came to me today in meditation. It's so simple, and yet it's so profoundly powerful. I will use an analogy of people in your life, but it can be an event or a place, perhaps a places you've stayed or visited, and now a bigger thing coming through. But I'll use an analogy of people, because a lot of light activations that we do, we can kind of visualize that as people, because people personify things so that it become more tangible, so that we can have not just the essence of light, 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 but, you know, sacred relationship, because this is our basis here on earth, is embodiment through sacred relationship, through understanding that comes through that relationship. And that's the message of today's Mary's Assumption Day as well. So what you would do in this exercise, and we can do it very shortly together, is you would sit for a while in your sacred space. I always recommend just for a while, just sit. Don't close your eyes and immediately want to go into that meditation, because then you're forcing it with the mind. Sometimes it takes a while just to gradually build up the energy experience. And what we will do now, because I'm using the example of people, of personification, perhaps, I don't know, maybe you've had a few romantic relationships or people in your life, or maybe friendships, it doesn't matter. But let's use something that's the most intense and sacred, which is intimate relationship experience. And as you're keeping your eyes closed and focus on your sacred heart, which is your chamber of magnetic attraction, which is where you magnetize, which means you hold the essence of that creative space in your heart. So your emotional body processes a lot of that information, and it gives a signal out, because from this mental higher planes of creativity, then it needs to be felt so that then it can be experienced as a physical tangent. So what you would do is you would see these people. It's almost like they're flying to you. They're being magnetized and pulled to you. All these experiences, perhaps past relationships. And you see them, and you want to ask all to be gathered into your sacred heart chamber, all of it. And just see who presents itself to you. Oh, look at this person. I knew this person. Or, oh, wow, I had a deep karmic experience with that person. Ooh, that person I had really hard time forgiving. Ooh, I did it, but, you know. And then just see what comes to you, and let it come to you. And it's flying. It's almost like these people are kind of imprinting upon your third eye. They're kind of telling you, hello, you know, this is what needs to come through, and this is a personified energy. See, maybe you're going to see colors, visuals, energies they're bringing you, the lessons that are then crystallized into wisdom to that experience. And then put them all in this sacred golden heart chamber you have here inside. And then put the color pink, like soft pink, around your heart, which means you're softening every experience you've ever had with this type of energy. We're personifying it now through people, but they're only aspects or archetypes of the energies you've had as an experience in that relationship. And if you want to learn more about that, I teach how to become a lumen through these partnerships in my Cosmic Beloved course. Okay, so you would soften your heart. First, you can do a layer of soft pink light. Then you can maybe do a layer of magenta pink, which is just see an overlay of energy. The magenta pink is this higher love, higher heart, because when you've softened your heart, it can move then to the higher space, the higher essence of that activation. And just see how when you're doing this, when you're embracing yourself and everything that's in your heart. So people often want to visualize the person and, you know, want to see themselves hugging them, or, you know, it's kind of like forced sometimes. What you want to do instead is bring every essence into your heart, because it's from your heart that you love these people. You don't have to love through a personal connotation, like, oh, you know, I need to forgive you, I need to love you. And it's still done through personality to personality. You want to do it on a higher level. That's where you're taking them in your heart. And just feel your golden heart chamber lifting up through, it's like being encircled with this higher presence. So soft pink and magenta pink, and perhaps at the later levels it will get more darker shades, perhaps more magenta violet and kind of like golden violet. There's the higher spiritual awareness that you receive from all these experiences. And then see all these people as an aspect, as archetypes within you. Kind of, they're starting to stand around in a circle. Maybe there's a desk in your heart chamber. See it like a room, like a sacred room that you're adorning. It's like a very sacred space of yours, your most intimate sacred space. And then see these people coming together around that table. Maybe it's a large crystal or whatever comes out. Maybe it's a large heart shape, something. Just feel what your soul wants to send through as your own visualization. That's the most important thing in any light activation, because you're activating yourself. It's not me doing it. I'm just sharing how light travels through us. Then see these people gathering together, and the moment they hold hands, the energy gets unified, and it's almost like you're observing a wide circle. When enough of that white light is built from the individual experiences that these people represent through archetypes, see this white light almost like a wave, a column of light being propelled upwardly, because you're the one activating your white pillar. So see that white light, and it's getting deeper and more expanding, you know, horizontally, vertically. It's moving in all directions, and it's deeply intense and radiant. It's almost like luminescent. And now from this white light, see a being that wants to emerge. So from all these sacred relationships, you can also do that with a place, like you gather different places, but now we're doing it with people. Let's say you don't know where to live next in your new environment, and you're trying to get it or figure out with the mind. So instead you would do this exercise to bring all aspects into synthesis and then unify it in this white light. And see what wants to now emerge from this unified perspective. Maybe there's a cloaked, white-robed being coming. And you would see that being approaching you, and you would see the sacred essence that now wants to be presented to you from the unified template. So maybe every relationship prepared you for a sacred union, for a sacred relationship you will experience. But see that really coming towards you. Because these people, these aspects, they're now unified, and you can't even see their faces anymore. All you see is this wide circle of light. And that circle builds a column, and that column kind of like goes in every direction, becomes everything, becomes the luminescent white light. And from it, this being, as a personified divinity mirror of yours, you know, kind of matches you up, and it looks you right in the eyes. And you can observe it, maybe from afar. Maybe you're going to see more of face or features. And just observe the experience. And when you do so, thank yourself and thank that being for approaching you, and then take that fully into this, what is in the middle, whether it's a crystal, maybe a pink shaped pink quartz crystal, maybe it's a kunzite, pink kunzite. It's also a divine love crystal. Or maybe it's both, and overlighted with amethyst, all three, right? Rose quartz, pink kunzite, and amethyst. So we have three colors: soft pink, magenta pink, fuchsia pink, and then this higher violet kind of pink essence. And then nothing but this white light, this feeling, this experience, and you feel it deeply in your heart, because that's what you want to magnetize from your sacred heart core. Heart core. And just be with that feeling for a while, however well you want it, because it might get more in detail as you're observing it. Just observe and experience every level of that. And feel deeply that you are not disconnected, that you're simply ascending through these nature of the wide spiral, right, which guides you each time into a different cavern of the experience in your sacred heart. Each time it's like you open a new room and you say, wow, that's the room I want to explore now. And when you fully explore it, it feels void for a while. Okay, what's next? You wait it out. You let it approach you. You do the unifying exercise. You let that approach you. And each time you are new, you are revitalized, you are met with your divine match, mirror. Sometimes it might be a person, sometimes a place, sometimes an object, sacred object, whatever. Just know that this is true because you create on higher metaphysical, ethereal nature, like your chakras exist on your ethereal body template. And then you bring that magnetization through your sacred heart into the nature of your feeling side of life, and then bringing it into your physical form in divine timing. So that's that. Thank you for watching, for staying tuned. I'm looking forward to go down to have a bath in the sacred water after this adventurous experience of mine. But yeah, I really had to share this video with all of you. It's very important what's happening now. Times are intense, especially for this eclipse month. And I wish you all well. See you soon. Take care. Really blessed be, as always. So much love, wisdom, and power. And I'll talk to you again. So, dear beloveds, I also have a very short exercise for you today. We're working once again with the pendulum, of course. And a lot of people are saying it's not good to work with a pendulum, and it is good, but you have to learn to use it cautiously in the now moment and with the awareness of the new. So, a very enlightened, or let's say heart-centered now moment momentum technique for the pendulum is being used that you're creating this rotation in the now. And I have to add here that it's not good to use the pendulum when you're in that in-between state where you're sometimes in the integration mode, because the answers will be kind of confusing at times because you're not yet shifted into your now momentum. So you would like to use your pendulum at the pivotal point where you feel really elevated, where you feel very grounded and balanced and whole. And of course, ground yourself through the white column and in the golden spiral of light into the earth. Feel yourself as the center between earth and spirit realms, okay? And then ask for the directions coming always through your higher self, centered in the now moment. Don't ask for things in the future like predictions. That's not the point of the pendulum. The point is to help you make decisions when you sometimes feel a little bit swaying to maybe left or right, and you're not always completely sure. And sometimes I use it myself as well. But it usually, when you use it like this, it will already confirm for you what you know already. So what you would like to do at first, and this is how I received this from Spirit, is center yourself, but see yourself as the consciousness that is held within the pendulum. Don't just hold the pendulum and start working with it and asking questions. It's like this and that. That's not aware. So what you would like to do is see yourself. I really made this drawing now to show you. You don't have to do a drawing. You can do it also visually. Those of you who are very clairvoyant, you can do this just visually, okay? But it's very important that you, perhaps for the first time, do this centering through this simple drawing. So what you do is you create this now moment, this structure in the middle of the point, in the middle of the circle. And we will activate the vortex now, and these intersections as you can see, there can be many more of them, are, let's say, different choices. Let's say you have many different things you would like to do, but you don't know where to start. You kind of have very few projects in mind, and you want to know where your focus is at the highest potential for you in the moment, okay? So, and here above and to the vertical and then horizontal are the overall yes and no. If you can do the additional questions, okay, in depth. So what you would like to do first is, again, see yourself. You can even touch here with the pinpoint of the pendulum and see yourself as a consciousness entering this pendulum. So it is a reflection of your conscious state, and you would like to affirm that the guidance you receive now is fully within the white light of unity, within your highest guides, your master guides, and intended for you to receive the highest potential of life force that is meant to nourish and create your reality at this time. Okay? It's not to predict the future, or when's this going to happen and that, you know, if you ask these questions, you will get very confused because it will show you different things at different times, because you're constantly shifting anyway. You're creating these timelines because you are the creator of your reality. But where, you know, your focus is within these projects or ideas you've been having, it's kind of like the direction where we're moving here. So with that decree, and see yourself entering this point of consciousness, activate the vortex and say, I activate the vortex now. And you will see, when you have strong energy, it will start to spin. You see, it's already spinning. And you want to move it across the entire circle. So that you, as your consciousness, imagine yourself. This is a visual representation of the overall consciousness. You're going to encompass the whole circle. You want to be within the full potential, even though you're going to make choices in the now. You want to encapsulate the full potential. You see? There's the full potential now. You're moving through it. And when you feel yourself, because you're the creator of this exercise, this practice, you'll feel that the circle is fully activated. You say, okay, moving. See it, imagine a golden spiral of light, moving it back into the middle of the vortex point. You see, it's already doing it. It's already turning back. That's how aware we are. We can do this. It's energy doing this. It's our spirits doing this. So now you have activated the circle, put it back in its center rotational point. Just see it. You don't have to move. You see, I'm not moving anything. I'm moving a little bit because I'm holding the camera with the other hand and it's kind of hard, but I'm not moving my hand. When you do this, see this middle point. What you did here with the exercise, you've merged the middle point, which is the nowness or the unknown, or, you know, the potential not yet realized, and then you went around. You see, now I'm moving the hand. You went around and then you came back with the fullest potential. And from this point, see that every answer you want to get through every question you have for yourself, for your directions at this time in the now, see that this answer will come. Be centered. Your consciousness, hold the consciousness in the vortex. Hold it in this point, right? See the golden white spiraling vortex. Because you want the answers to come from that point. You don't want it to come from your ego personality. A lot of people use it that way, and then they say the pendulum doesn't work. Well, the pendulum is a physical extension of your consciousness that you're holding. It's like these drawings you do, they're symbolic, but they help you facilitate your spiritual awareness in a practical form. And we're practical human beings. We're light beings in flesh. So then you ask a question, you say, is this the right direction for me? And no, the first thing you do, you have these 4 or maybe more, you might draw more linings, and you say, which of these is my highest potential in this now moment? And you'll see, for me it went in this direction, and it started doing like this. Started showing me like this, for my example. I'm not telling you what it is, but just to show you. See, I'm not moving anything except the camera with my left hand. And then you think it, and then always after you do it, you bring it back to the center. My hand is shaking a bit, I'm sorry. It's kind of hard to do this. And then when you have additional questions for this direction, I'm going to just put it down because I can barely hold my camera this way without shaking it. And when you have additional questions, just continue asking, and then see this as the yes and no curve. The yes is like you say sway yes, or the no. Or the not no will be like this. Usually it starts to circle around. So that's how you use a pendulum, with the awareness within the vortex and not through your ego personality. I hope you will enjoy this technique if you do it at home. And don't do it when you're confused. Meditate a bit before and feel grounded and centered. And do it when you're in the period of elevated state, when you're usually setting your intentions, and not when you're confused and just seeking for answers outside of you, because that's how the answers will be even more confusing. Take care. And here is the second very powerful exercise. This is just very silly example which I did as a quick backup drawing for my own example. But it's called intuitive drawing, and it's better you do it with color pencils. I don't have them here right now. And it's another thing that really gets you going in a creative way when you're standing in between choices, and you're kind of like, a lot of people ask themselves, what's my purpose? Well, many things, what's your purpose in the highest potential in the now is the right question. So just sit yourself with a white piece of paper and see it as blank, and then take your drawings, take your color pencils, start drawing, and just see what your heart wants to draw, first, second, third, and just continue to add details. And then when you're done, take a look at the picture and say, what does this mean for me right now? As you can see, I did the heart of Mother Nature, and this, the sun and the starry sky, so it's the light and shadow, and it's this space in nature. And it's my love for nature and what I want to do with the Life Force retreats. And then here's the womb and the roots, and how this triggers so much planetary life force with these spirals. And here, I don't have the color pencils with me, so this is all water. It should be blue. It's waves of water, that create this reverberation and healing. And then this is the vortex, the spiraling light, and then there's this 2 galactic spirals. So the divine feminine and masculine forces of creation. And in the heart is what's in your heart and what's truly in yours. So this is how I drew it. It's very quickly. It's just a mock-up drawing. It was like in 1 minute. But you can do it in a more profound way. It looks simple, but it has many answers for you, because the inner child within you is rooted in the sacred space in your heart. And this is what we've been talking about today. And this is how you actually crack open the crevices which tell you that you're in the void, or you're in the 0 point. When you actually, the 0 point, when you're really in the 0 point, is the highest aspect of creativity. So you're going to be highly charged, and it can be the simplest things, but this is what will activate your creative senses. And it's when you're not creative, and it's when you're in a stagnant mode, is different than when you're in the void, because the void actually is very creative and potent. It just sometimes takes a while for that life force to tell you, or to navigate you in the right direction. But it's not the same as stagnant energy. In the stagnant energy, you're feeling like you're somehow creatively blocked. So use these techniques when you feel you're stagnant, when you feel like you are in the 0 point, in that kind of way. So 2 very simple and yet powerful exercises that can help you shift and can help you get on the upper side of the curve and really be on your uplifted levels of light as a being of divine love. Enjoy.
Magic